Treger Strasberg, thank you for coming on Game Changers.
So excited to be here.
I know, I've known you for such a long time. We've been involved through a summer camp, Riverway Ranch Camp, which has opened so many doors for me to like meeting amazing people as well.
Us too.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just such a great place to, people that have those same, I feel like, values and likeness in what they want to do. And over the years, I've kind of seen you building this amazing nonprofit, Humble Design. And a quick story before that I haven't shared with you yet. My mum's in town from Australia, and I was sitting down with her, and I told her, I'm sitting down with this lady who has started this nonprofit, and I told her exactly what you did and what you do for, people coming out of situations where they don't have any furniture, don't have a house, and they're really coming out of, nothingness. And my mom started crying the moment that I told her the story about the boy that just wanted a bed. And I was like, those are the reasons that I do this, is to have people on that are really making a difference in society. And so I really want to get a understanding of exactly what Humble Design is about, so that everyone knows before we even get into your story, because that's the most important part. But people really need to know what you're doing first.
Sure. So it's a pretty simple idea, which after I tell you, you're going to be like, doesn't that already exist?
Yeah.
And no, it doesn't. So basically, when people leave homeless shelters in the United States, there's a lot of programs that help people get into homes. Section 8 housing, HUD, rental assistance. But usually when people go into a homeless shelter, they leave everything else, all their personal belongings, everything that they've worked their whole life to collect behind. They don't have any money to move it around. So the homeless shelter is the last place in the world that you want to be.
Of course, yeah.
Exhausted all your options. So you get into this housing, right? Let's just pretend that you've got this house and you've secured funding for this housing, and you get in and you and your children are now sleeping on the floor. You have no money left over at the end of the week for beds, even if you're working 2-3 jobs, even if you're a 2-income household, there's nothing left over for couches, beds, the little things that make a house into a home.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, there's so much excess furniture in the world right now because of this democratization of design. We're overflowing our trash with furniture, perfectly good furniture. You've seen it on the side of the road.
No, and I've even gone to thrift stores and stuff, and you see down the side of them, they just have stuff that they can't move or get that's not good enough that they believe to go into people's houses.
Or Goodwill can't pick it up for 3 weeks or whatever it is. So they just put it on the curb. So here's this problem that we have with people sleeping on the floor, and then here's this problem that we have with too much furniture.
Yeah.
Like, this is a pretty stupid problem.
Exactly, right?
Like, how logistically do we put those two things together? So what ended up happening was I started with one family who needed our help, and it grew into this program where we, instead of selling furniture that you give to us, we actually bring it down to the people who need it.
So amazing.
Super easy idea.
Yeah. It's crazy that you put that idea out there, like, this is how it is, and you think that there has to be someone doing this already.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of an obvious issue. So where is the point that you realize that there is no one doing this?
Okay, so I started this program really just helping a friend. My friend, who I knew, was moving into a home after being homeless, and she was sleeping on the ground with her two kids, and it broke my heart.
Yeah. Just
like your mom, I cried all the way from her house to picking up my kids at the daycare, knowing how much excess I had in my life.
Yeah.
So I asked all my girlfriends, I asked all my friends, what do you have that's excess in your house? And my friend Anna and I drove around in a pickup truck. And within 6 weeks, her house was like furnished like a magazine, because she was our friend and she deserved that pride and dignity of not just furniture, but like furniture that she connected with, right?
Yeah, of course.
So then I became known as the furniture lady in my community, which is weird.
I was going to say, like, is it good to be known as the furniture lady?
No, because there was I came home from volunteering one day at another organization, and there was a couch, like a sectional Natutsi couch on my front lawn.
People just dropping stuff off at your house.
Drop shit off. And I was like, oh my God, my whole garage filled up. My front, the front of my house filled up. Then we filled up storage units.
Yeah.
So I started calling around, and I said, okay, I don't want this to be resold, because I know how Goodwill works and they're a wonderful organization, but I wanted this stuff to go where the people who had donated it to me intended it to go, which is to this family in need.
Exactly.
Not knowing that my project was over, right?
Yeah.
So I called around 9 shelters. I called and I said, who does this? Who brings it to the families that you place into housing? And they said, this is a huge hole in the system.
Yeah.
Could you do that? Could you start that?
Would you like a job? Because we feel like someone needs to do that.
Could you start a whole nother second career for us? And I just laughed. I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm a graphic design and advertising person. Like I that's not for me.
Yeah.
But by the 9th phone call, I had one of those moments of, I'm a firm believer that be the change that you want to see in the world.
Huge.
If you see a problem and you drive by it in your car and you're like, somebody should really do something about that.
Yeah.
You should do something about that. You should be making the phone calls. So that is like sort of my driving force. And so I was like, oh man, put up or shut up. Like, be the change that you want to see in the world. I don't know anything about nonprofit.
Yeah.
I don't know what a 501c3. I don't know anything, but I can figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm determined. So began the whole operation.
Yeah.
It's taken on a whole life of its own. It has a whole movement behind it. We'll get to that now.
Yeah.
But what it really does is it restores dignity for those who have lost it by treating others like human beings and sitting down with them and not just saying, here's some furniture, by saying, what do you like? And what's your year been like? And how can we help you? And how can we help you get to where you need to go this next year? And in doing so, it's not just furniture at somebody's house. It's that moment where everybody cries when they come home because their dreams are I tear up. I'm sorry, but their dreams are realized in front of them, and you see it on their face, that huge sense of relief that things are going to go this way.
Yeah. No, I encourage everyone to go to your website and really watch these videos.
To bring a box of tissues.
Like I said, the one I told my mom about, I cried watching it. And those are the moments where you see people, like yourself, that you say you come out of a design background, advertising background, and you have really found a area for yourself to give back to culture and give back to society and use your skill set to better other people's lives. And I believe that those are the people that are game changers, and those are the ones that are really going to be the change in this world that you see. As someone coming out of an advertising background, and I want to even take it back further in a moment, what's that decision like? Because I talk to a lot of people that have these career path change. How hard is that decision to go from an advertising marketing background that is you're doing very well in, and throw it all to the wind and say, you know what, this is something that actually is more along like what my heart wants to do?
I want to say it was a super hard decision, but it really wasn't. I want to say I stayed up late at night and pondered it, but I really didn't. This is not a sacrifice for me. Let me just get that super clear. Like, I didn't sacrifice anything, because it brings me so much joy and fulfillment and peace and all the things that I wasn't getting.
Yeah.
I was getting a paycheck, which was great, and I had made great friends, and I was being creative. But this is so much more fulfilling. My head hits the pillow. I'm exhausted at the end of the night, but so happy. And I would never trade that.
That's amazing to hear, because, I think a lot of people, especially young age, you fight for trying to get to that paycheck. You fight for, that's what you see as successful, and we don't hear a lot of people talking about the success in how you actually feel at the end of the day. Rather, it's what house you come home to, or what car you drive home from work to your house. Right. Let's go further back and really kind of have a run up before we get to Humble Design, because that's where the meat's going to be. But I want to know, growing up, what was it that you really saw yourself doing as a young person living in San Diego? Correct?
Yeah,
San Diego, correct?
Grew up in East County, yeah.
Okay. What was it that you felt like this is my calling, this is what I want to do?
I remember being just an incredibly frustrated child. I wanted to help. I wanted to help others, and I wanted to help people around me. But as a child, I didn't have an outlet. So I used to help animals in my backyard because I didn't know how to help people. I wasn't encountering people that I could help. I did a little bit with the Girl Scouts, but not in a really meaningful way. Like, you ladle soup a little bit, but you can't really interact. And I always wanted that interaction. I wanted to help people. So when my friends were in distress, I was always the one who was like trying to get involved and like trying to solve situations, trying to invite people over to my house when they were fighting with their parents. Like I really was struggling, but I couldn't put a name on it. I couldn't pinpoint what it was.
Pinpoint why you felt like that was something that you needed to do.
It wasn't until I was an adult that I had a face-to-face with somebody I actually could help that I realized that this is what I've been trying to get at.
So you decided you wanted to do art in college,
right?
How's the conversation? Because this is something that I get asked a lot, you know, because doing what at the moment when you're going to college, what your dream and your desire is not always in line with what family, parents have to say about what you should do in your life. You know, you come from your father is a doctor, your mom professor. You tell them, I want to go to New York and I want to do art. How's that conversation? Because it's something that a lot of people have to get through.
Right. And I think it's getting easier as generations move on and generations can see that there's actually careers to be had in art and in graphic design and living a creative life. Yeah. Back 2 generations ago, there was no such thing as a creative life. You were like, you know, a bum or a beatnik or like, you know, some crazy person. But I think my parents came around to seeing the value that there was a value in going to college for art. And living a creative life was something I just was not willing to compromise on, even as a senior in high school. They knew. And living their life wasn't for me. The role of a professor or a doctor just wasn't my path. Were they 100% cool? Like, probably not. They supported me in the way that they could. Would they probably have at that point wanted me to be like, you know, I'm really thinking about being a lawyer? Probably. But they were pretty cool about it. And of course, they paid for it. So kudos to them.
Thank you, parents.
Thank you,
Come on.
Mom and Dad. And then they stuck by me through it. And then I had a moment where I was half in their world and half in mine. My junior year in college, I was a fine art major. So I was going to be a painter. And I was walking down the street in New York City, and there was these canvases that were just huge, and they were the most gorgeous paintings I had ever seen, and they were on the street. This guy was selling them for $500 a piece. And I was like, what is your story, man? These are amazing. These are like what I aspire to be in like 30 years. These are insane. And he's like, well, I graduated from my college with a fine arts
This
degree.
is a moment.
And I was like,
how many hours did you put into this and it's being sold for $500?
And this guy was like light years away from where I was ever going to be as a painter. And I looked at him and listen, like he probably made choices that I wouldn't have made, but like I just thought there's got to be another way. So I went into my my counselor's office at the college and I said, what's the highest job success rate directly out of this college? And he said advertising and graphic design. And I switched my major.
Where do you come up with that question to ask your college advisor?
I just wanted a job. Like I wanted a job afterwards because I wanted to be creative, but I didn't want to depend on my parents after I got out of college. So I was like, how can I do both? And so I switched my major to graphic design and advertising, which was fantastic because, you know, I'm not that great a painter.
We'll be honest now because you're not a painter. If I was sitting down with you right now and we were talking about how great your artwork was, that would not be the comment we'd be making.
No, I'm not that great a painter. In fact, I don't even really do a lot of the crafting. Like the designers do a lot of the crafting for the houses because I'm just not that great.
But you were an amazing graphic designer. You are still an amazing graphic designer. What was it about, you know, working in that industry that I guess because I've looked at the awards and the acknowledgement that you've gotten that really made you want to strive for greatness in that area?
It was just fun. It was super fun to do, and advertising's so great if you're like into it. It's just a matter of being like super into like what you're into, right? Like you're really into this right now and you're just going to work really hard at it. And I just loved the industry and I loved the creativeness and I loved the people. And my husband was really much further along than I was because he's a lot older than me and very, very talented. And so we... he's not a lot older than me.
Rob's going to be watching this. Like, I have to make a call and ask if he needs to have that edited out. My husband and I were just immersed in this world of advertising that we just fell in love with. And when you're really into something and you work really hard at it and you're up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning just doing it,
you're gonna be successful at it.
Did you have, because you have two amazing children, Henson and Tuesday, did you have them while you were in the advertising industry still?
I shifted and I stuck and move a little bit. So when I had my kids, I got out of the 2 a.m. Pitches for cars industry, and I moved into doing in-house advertising for banking systems. So I had a 9 to 5, and which was really much better for raising children. And then I even shifted to 2 or 3 days a week, which was even better. So I worked around them. But then the moment that I moved to Michigan, I started Humble Design. Even as we grew, and this is a little off topic, but even as we grew, everybody went home at 3.
Yeah.
Because I had to go home at 3 because I had my kids. So I was Humble Design from the time they went to school all the way until the time they got out of school. And then at 3 o'clock, I was mom.
Yeah.
Until they went to bed at 8. And then I was Humble from 8 till 2 a.m. again. I just carved out that time, and everybody else followed suit because we were all moms with kids.
Yeah.
So you needed to be home by 3.
Talk to me about moving to Michigan, because of all places that that you could have went and you could have started this company and this amazing movement and nonprofit. Why Michigan of all places?
So we were in Miami, and my husband had this amazing opportunity to take this very large advertising agency and bring it to a new level. And he was working crazy hours in Miami and traveling a lot, and this new position in Michigan would give him some flexibility to be with the kids a little bit more. Plus, the opportunity to take a 1,200 person agency and steer it in a new direction was really enticing for us. And I know that people have a lot of negative things to say about Detroit, but when we went to go look at it in the middle of January, it was
freezing cold.
Amazing.
Okay.
Norman Rockwell. Amazing, with these cool new restaurants happening downtown and a revival happening, plus these little pockets, these little neighborhoods that were just I can't even tell you, during the summer we have outdoor movies with the community and parades, and it was this childhood that I couldn't offer my kids in Miami.
Yeah.
So not to speak poorly of Miami, but it was hard raising kids there.
Yeah.
So we moved them to Michigan, and it was just this idyllic, wonderful childhood that they had there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And Detroit is the coolest. Am I allowed to curse on here?
Of course.
Coolest motherfucking city in the world right now. I love, we moved to San Diego and I love being close to family, but Detroit's the tits, man.
Yeah.
It is awesome. And if you're a creative in Detroit, even better. So blank slate, do what you want, no red tape. Here's a canvas, paint on it.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. It was amazing.
From what we kind of see from Detroit is, that it's in need of a lot of help. It's they've gone through tough times, and there's people there, and I think looking at what Humble Design does, it's the perfect synergy of where amazing place for that have started. What's it like to start a company inside of a neighborhood or an area that is so needed that people start to flock to you? Yeah.
So originally, when we were on the news or something like that, when we had these moments of reveal, we would get 1,500 calls of people who needed our help.
Yeah.
Rather than people who wanted to donate. And we realized pretty quickly that we have to grow. We have to grow quickly. It was always a dream of mine to help everybody who needs us.
Yeah.
I want to hug everybody who's suffering. That's my heart. So growing was just part of the plan. And as we start getting people reaching out to us, and we set up a system where a social worker makes a referral to us. And that's the only red tape we have.
Yeah.
So you as an individual can't contact us for help. Your social worker contacts us.
Got you.
And in that way, we have this steady stream of fantastic families who really need us, veterans, families, singles who really need us. And then there's somebody on the other end who's responsible, who can help us manage the relationship.
So once they come to you, is it already a go-ahead?
We're good.
Okay.
Once a social worker makes a referral to us and fills out the form, we work with 9 shelters in Detroit, one pretty big one in Chicago, one big one in Seattle, and one here in San Diego. Once they make a referral to us, that's it. That's all we need. But as we, in Detroit, which is interesting, which you bring up, is as we start to get known in the suburbs of Detroit, our truck is like the ice cream truck.
Really?
We pull up, the whole neighborhood comes out, applauds, like so excited to see us, so excited that somebody on their block is going to get this humble treatment. And we've had like 4 or 5 houses on one block that we've been able to help, and then the whole block, the worth of the houses goes up. The landlords love us, the communities love us. We take pride and ownership of the whole community rather than just one off. So
what is it about people coming out of homelessness that when they walk into these houses and they get that, like you say, ownership of their own house? What is it about that really steers them in a direction to succeed? Because there's a lot of these programs and whatnot that give back and they help them, but it's not a great success rate.
Like, what's a Band-Aid and what's systemic change,
exactly,
right?
Yes.
So I always like to say, first of all, let me just say that on average, 50% of people who leave a homeless shelter will go back within 12 months nationally.
Wow.
So according to our statistics from HUD, 50% of people who leave a homeless shelter will go back.
That's sad. 1 in 2.
It is really sad. And they tout that as a very good number because that number has actually improved.
Okay.
But with rapid rehousing and stuff like that. But it's actually, for us, that's the number we're trying to work on. So let me just put this to you and to your audience. This is my favorite quote. In the history of the world, no one has ever washed a rented vehicle.
Really?
Think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no pride of ownership there, right? It's a car that you're using for a little while and then it goes back, right?
That's crazy.
So think about that in the terms of ownership and pride of ownership, right? And when you walk into your home and it's your safe space and it's yours and there's your table and your computer and your pictures hanging on the wall and your bed, how hard are you going to fight to keep that? Then that's yours now. How hard are you going to fight to keep a house or an apartment where you're sleeping on the floor, the water breaks in the kitchen, floods the kitchen, and there's nothing really there. It's just a couple of cardboard boxes and a milk crate.
You just up and walk away.
Leave, right? So our statistics are only 1% of our families go back into homelessness within 12 months.
That's amazing.
50%, 1%. It's pride of ownership and dignity that is missing from this hierarchy of needs that we're talking about in this country. Yes, food is important. Yes, shelter is important. But what about the human aspect of this? We're not treating animals who need shelter and water. We're treating human beings who need love and dignity to survive. Yeah.
What are the conversations? Because I know you do like an interview process with the individuals that are moving out of the homeless shelters. What are those conversations like for you? Because you, I guess, know in the long run the amazing feeling that they're going to get. But at that stage, they don't know that, you know? Yeah. They don't know that this is going to be life-changing for them.
I love it when people don't know us. I love it. Some people know that we're coming and have like looked up our videos and like have this whole narrative in their head. But I love it when people don't know us because we walk in and they expect us to say, what's your social security number? What government subsidies are you on? And we ask none of those questions.
That's not in your repertoire. You don't care about that section of it.
You know what? I just want to be friends with you. Like, I just want to see what your life is like, and I want to hug you, and like, I want to make it better. So we come in, we sit down on the floor because nobody has anything.
Yeah. And so you're in the house.
Right. We go visit them down at their house, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, their shoulders are round and they're looking down, and we're sitting on the ground. Sometimes their kids are playing, sometimes their kids are at school. And we just say, so who are you? Like, what's your last year been like? Are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, what got you to this point? Like, how much hard work did it take to get you into this house? And congratulations, like, you did it.
Because that's a big moment for them. Like, going from a homeless shelter to actually having a roof over them for them and their kids. Like, lots of people don't see that as success, but to them, that's a huge successful moment.
Think about almost 89% of the people that we are working with are victims of domestic violence. Think about them getting themselves the strength to get up, get out, get into a shelter, and then get into another place.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Their year has been so shitty.
Yeah.
So shitty. And they're on the right path and they're doing all the right things. Some of our families have 2 jobs, you know, just trying to make it ends meet. So we sit down with them and we're like, okay, what can we do for you? Like, if you envisioned your house before, have you envisioned your most perfect bedroom? And they're like, No, I don't. What are you talking about?
My most perfect bedroom would just have a bed in it.
A bed.
Yeah.
And they expect so little. And they say, well, I would really like somewhere to put my clothes. And we're like, yeah, but do you want it to be leather or wood? Or are you flowers? And really, they don't want to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Usually the parents just want to talk about their kids. My kid's so into basketball. I'm so proud of my kid. He's playing basketball in dress shoes because he doesn't have any sneakers. I'm so proud of my kid. She's made all straight A's with no light to do her homework by this year. Like, they just want to talk about their kids.
Yeah.
Some moms and dads put themselves in the basement or in the living room to give the kids the bedroom, the one bedroom, you know? And so that really kills me, right? So after we leave, we have a really good sense of who they are and what their year's been like and how we might be able to add little surprises in for them that they weren't expecting. And then what we try to do is make the turnaround really quick. Because you can imagine it's a year of broken promises, right? It's a year of like, yeah, maybe we'll get you, and waiting for housing, not housing, a bed in the shelter. So we interview them on a Monday and we'll furnish on a Wednesday.
Wow. So it's the same week of.
Yeah, right away.
That's a tidbit of like extra thought that goes into this, because like you said, like these people have had broken promises probably, and like, hey, we're going to get you a house in a month or in 2 weeks or whatever it is. So they're sitting down with you, not knowing you, being like, okay, maybe this is another one of those ladies that's just going to be like, okay, here's all these dreams, and then I'm going to walk away and nothing's going to happen.
Right. And then so I tear up again because then our designers come back to the warehouse, and we have like a 12,000 square foot warehouse in all of our locations or bigger. Yeah. And it's set up like a Bed Bath & Beyond. But not only can they pick all the things that are right for the family, they have 17 couches to choose from, but they craft and they take their family photographs and they frame them and they blow them up, and then they put every kid's name above the bed so the kid knows which safe space is theirs. And they make little... just an example, a mom was really into gardening and she had no outdoor space. So they made her an indoor herb garden with her name on it and all the herbs, just like little secrets. And we have all the kitchen items, all the artwork items, all the bedding, all the cleaning supplies. So we ask them to leave in the morning, and we bring in a corporation and we say, hey, all of your volunteers get to help clean and do everything. All the big furniture is going to be moved in by our movers. So don't worry. They clean everything. They do everything. And then you know how you volunteer and you want to make that connection with somebody, but it's hard? Our volunteers get to watch what their hard work did and watch the family walk in the door for the first time and cry and see all the surprises and watch the kids. 8-year-olds and 5-year-olds last week. An 8-year-old grabbed her 5-year-old sister and started crying at the side of their couch. And they hadn't even been in their room yet. And I'm thinking to myself, how badly did their last couple of years go that an 8-year-old and 5-year-old break down at a sight of a couch? My 11-year-old and 12-year-old, I hope, never break down at the sight of a couch. I hope they've never had a thought that big. And then when they got into their bedroom, it was just so cathartic for everybody to know that they were going to sleep in a safe place that night, that they were going to be warm, and their mom was not going to have to put them to bed on the floor. But yes, it's a great gift for them. It's wonderful. But those people who helped that day, it's a much greater gift. And we have what we call repeat offenders who come back and volunteer again and again. And corporations, they sponsor these houses again and again because they get to make that human connection. And get to see what their hard work did. Because
you don't understand the importance of what for a child going to school every day and not having to worry about going home to nothing or sleeping on a floor or having a TV just to be able to tell their friends, oh, I watched that TV show as well. You know, because a lot of these kids, I'm sure, hide from the fact of what they go home to.
About sleepovers.
Yeah.
Never having anybody over to your house. Never being able to have a play date.
Yeah. It's the little things.
It's crazy. And then, Thanksgivings and Christmases, when we get invited back over because people are proud, we leave the house at 2:00 after the reveal. And by 3:00, all their cousins, all their neighbors, everybody's in there. Like, they're entertaining. The mom and the dad are proud of this house now. And that changes everything. That's why our 1% number is where it is, because of that pride.
The pride. And you show so much pride, and the companies that you work with, obviously there are expenses that come into this nonprofit. Where have you found and who have you found as investors or companies that have really aligned themselves with what Humble Design's doing.
It's great because we hit so many markers that we can align in a real. I believe in aligning with companies who make sense. And share our values. U-Haul is a moving company.
Yeah.
They have trucking and storage. That's their two biggest expenses. So U-Haul nationally has come on as our major partner, and they're like, makes so much sense for us. And their values as a company are our values.
Align with yours.
Oh my gosh, they hire more veterans, and they're just really family oriented.
Because I've seen the Humble Design U-Haul truck that has Humble Design U-Haul, and it does, like, it just works so well.
If anybody has a chance to like just go on and like read the history of U-Haul, it's a pretty amazing story of family ownership and this really quiet sense of charity that they don't advertise it, but oh my gosh, you would not believe how charitable they are.
I need to go and look at that
they're
now.
Pretty amazing. And then also the other thing that aligns with this is furniture, right? So CB2 came on board, and CB2 is like the most unbelievable furniture.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, they believe in a house being a home in the interior and making you feel comfortable and making you feel at home. So they align with us so well, and they've been so charitable. They've helped us open up in Chicago completely by themselves. So that was amazing. We've also had, like I said, those days of service where people come down, and just a way to get your employees to connect. That's not a ropes course. That's but actually doing something for the community. So we start with, like, Bank of America did one house, and then they did 12. Because it was such a positive experience. Quicken Loans just did it with us. So even if it doesn't exactly line up, the employees can still go down and feel like they made a difference in the community. Yeah.
What's the amount of investment into one house? How much would it cost you to move one family into a house that is fully furnished?
$3,000.
Okay.
So we don't pay for anything. We don't pay for any furniture. Everything's donated, 100%. We recycle 500,000 pounds of furniture per year out of each location. So nothing is purchased.
Yeah.
However, we have to pay employees. We have to pay for insurance, gas, rent, overhead, all those things that just make a business tick, computers, all that stuff. So it works out to about $3,000 a house.
Have you had any individuals that have seen what you're doing and just gone, I want to do a house?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. And then we have people who buy it as gifts for birthday presents for their friends and family or their wife.
That's such an awesome idea.
And they come down and do it with their family. It's so fun.
Because I love, I love the fact that, people are always wanting to help and donate. And a lot of the times we look offshore. Right. We look at other countries and all these places like, oh, let's help out people, which is amazing. But when we have people within our own neighborhoods that we could also that we could be changing their lives.
I don't want to downplay any suffering that's going on in the world, but there is suffering across the street from you.
Yeah.
There is hunger and suffering 3 miles that way and 2 blocks that way. And the saying charity starts at home. Well, your home is your neighborhood and where you live. And I think it's amazing that big corporations are solving malaria in other countries because that's a really big need. But for me, personally, I need the connection. I need to be there and watch when someone comes home. Yeah. Selfishly, I need that moment in time where I connect with somebody.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the people who are watching our videos watch our videos because they need that connection too and don't know how to get it.
Yeah.
And Humble does this amazing thing where we give you the opportunity to come down and meet people who need you.
Yeah.
You can see them. They're right there. And we'll do it in a safe and collective way where you get to come down and see what your hard work does.
And you just started down in San Diego as well.
We did 2 in LA, which is weird.
Oh, you've done 2 in LA up here.
Yeah.
Awesome. There's obviously this need for it. How and where do you make the move to continue to grow? Because obviously you have to do it smart, and you don't want to just overshoot the boundaries that you have so far. But there's obviously a need for this throughout the whole nation. Where's Humble Design kind of moving forward now that you're in San Diego as well?
Right. We're in 5 cities right now. And the way that we decided that we were going to grow was because every time, like the little boy that you saw who wanted a bed for Christmas, which I encourage you all to look up.
Definitely.
The little boy wants a bed for Christmas.
If you want to cry for a good half an hour, watch that one.
Just Google little boy gets a bed for Christmas. And that one had 50 million views.
Yeah.
So with that, I get people who need help, but also now the majority of people who contact me is like, I want to help. How do I do this in Omaha? How do I do this in DC? How do I do this in New York? So we're like, we really don't want to squander this moment in time where this doesn't exist nationwide.
Yeah.
And it could. It's a logistics problem, and we can solve this logistics problem. So we've put a lot of money and time and effort into infrastructure and laying down the foundation of how this might work nationwide. And now we have a really good system and a big booklet that DTE, our energy company, built for us. Shout out to DTE. And now we can say, here's this booklet, here's how it's done, here's the money you have to raise, here's the people you have to hire, and here's the warehouse space that you need.
Yeah.
And you can do it.
Yeah.
And it's proven to work. We had the Schultz Family Foundation, which is Howard Schultz and Starbucks and Microsoft come on board in Seattle. And boom, we're open in Seattle.
Wow.
King County gave us 19,000 square feet, and off we go. And that was the city of Seattle deciding that they absolutely wanted us there. And the people worked really hard. We had a woman, Stephanie Worley, who works for Microsoft there, just be our ambassador. And now we're at the point where the proof is in the pudding. We've done this now. It works. San Diego is going to be up and running. And it's going to be a smooth, easy transition because we have all that foundation in place.
Is there any roadblock that you feel like you've continuously ran into, or anything that has been tough? Yeah.
So U-Haul gives us space where they can offer it. In cities that are really tight, like San Francisco, who desperately needs us, in New York City, who also needs the service, they don't have any space.
Yeah.
So finding 10,000 square feet of donated warehouse space is like a needle in a haystack. That's been really difficult. That's what we're running into a little bit in San Diego.
Yeah.
But U-Haul's given us a small space that we need to grow from. So we're able to get started with that space. The other big obstacle is money. Rob and I have decided that this is our legacy.
Yeah.
And so we have yet to take a salary at all from Humble Design. But that being said, we need to pay all of our employees. We've got, over 20 employees now across this country, and we need to pay them. So money and space. Other than that, we got it.
Do your kids understand what you're doing now?
Oh, God. My kids are my spokespeople. My kids will go out into the community and just talk about it in a way that is more informed than most of my staff. They're amazing.
They're at school being like, "Hey guys, what are you doing? What are you doing this week during summer break? Do you want to come and help out? I've got this company, Humble Design, that could really use some help."
Yeah, they not only do that, but any adults that'll sit down and listen.
Yeah.
My kid was at I think he was at a language program, and the teacher was like, okay, trying to get them to speak in the language of what their parents did for a living, and he went on for a half an hour. She called me up. She's like, I have to know what you're doing. We have to get together for coffee. I want to help.
Yeah. What can people do if they do want to help Humble Design?
So humbledesign.org is the best place to go. You can learn about all the cities. You can donate. The best thing to do is a $5 a month donation just reoccurs, and you don't have to think about it. It helps us immensely because we can count on that money moving forward. And then we can add families. So the goal for every city is to get up to 3 families a week.
Wow.
And to do that, we need people rallying. And then please, if we're in your city, come down.
Yeah.
Do a house. I promise that you'll never ever forget it.
You could just come off the street and come down and be like, hey, I want to help out.
Yeah, we have days where those families are not subsidized by a corporation, that you can just volunteer. You can just come down to a house and just volunteer with us, and then help us spread the word. This is so important for me because I want to be the Habitat for Humanity of household furniture, right?
Yeah.
I want everybody to think of Humble when they think of donating their stuff. So this is really important. Spread the word. Use your Instagram. Everybody who is watching this has an Instagram, Facebook, Snap, and just find us and help us
Yeah.
Become
What
Insta-famous.
what would you say to university kids coming out of college that want to use their skill set to, rather than, and I get this all the time. I get people asking me about the people I sit down with, like, how do I use my skill set to benefit society rather than myself, and you've had this run up to now looking back and understanding what your experiences have been, and now you can look at it. But at 21 years of age, it's tough to really think that you can make a difference.
Yeah, but you are setting up your foundation, your building blocks of your career to then when you are settled to make a difference. But you can still start at 18, 19, because I honestly believe that the entire world and all of corporations are going to be this model of, yes, business and also giving back to charity. Mm-hmm. You can't turn on the TV right now without watching Subaru giving back to, American Red Cross or Delta. Everybody makes a connection with some charitable, organization. So right now, when you're planning your plot and your career, and you can say, like, I really want to be, I want to be a filmmaker, mm-hmm. but one day a month, I want to go make films for nonprofits who don't have the money to actually film themselves doing something. Yeah. All right. Or, you're a banker and you say, yes, I want to be a banker and I want to be on Wall Street, but one day a month I want to set aside, 2 days a month I want to set aside to go down to the shelter and tell people how to balance their checkbook and teach them how to do those things. And that is small things that you can do where you can make that human connection. Mm-hmm. Giving money is important. But if you can't give money, it's much more gratifying to give your time. Just set aside a small amount of time and it'll become routine, mm-hmm. and then you'll never go back. It is so gratifying. Yeah. So much fun to do.
I love it. And I love seeing the passion in yourself, and I love seeing the emotion, because that really just kind of shows, me and anyone watching the value in what you're doing. And I thank you so much for being a game changer, and I thank you for really setting it a great example, because there's going to be a lot of people that will watch this, and one that will probably reach out to try to work and help Humble Design, but two that are going to set them on a path of being the next Humble Design in whatever industry and what area it is. So thank you so much for being that example and being that change that you said. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.